So when I was in Thailand, I had 3 siblings visit me. My son visited me. Nieces and nephews of all kinds visited us. In-laws visited us. And one girl had been there in Thailand for 10 years, an American. She said, nobody ever visited us. Nobody. Here's my family.
Under one
My
leg,
friends
I
came to see me.
I am
A
amazed.
friend of mine came to see me too. So
Wave your hand. Keep waving.
This thing is tippy.
I got
Yeah,
something.
it's
So
not
anyway,
stable. It needs a rock.
What are you doing?
It wasn't. Oh, there went that plant.
thank you.
Are you okay?
Oh yeah, I'm fine.
She's just.
I hope you got the. Oh, no, you didn't. Get
No, I didn't get that. That's the best.
Oh my God! No, I'm not going to sit in there now. I don't know what
Well,
happened.
I think these weren't open, right?
Oh, I guess they weren't. Oh, look at our planter.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sadly, it wasn't. And it,
guys, this is JJ, and I am in Texas. And as most of you know, when I meet an interesting person, I always video them. And this lady I met here a couple days ago, and she has got a story to tell. So if any of you get mad because she's been places you haven't been, join the damn club. And what's your name, dear?
Sylvia,
Sylvia. Where are you from, Sylvia?
Canada, the middle of Canada, smack dab, Manitoba.
Manitoba. And during your travel in the early years when you traveled, what did you do for income? What was your job? What did you do?
Well, I traveled a bit before I went overseas, but I worked overseas. I went overseas in 2011 with a job in a school, an international school. And that was in Thailand, Bangkok. And I worked there for 2 years, and then I went to Bahrain, which is attached. It's an island attached to Saudi by a bridge. And then that was 2 years, and I'll never get that back. And then I was in Taiwan for 5 years as a school librarian.
Of all the places you travel, what's your favorite?
Where I traveled or where I lived?
Where you lived?
Where I lived, Taiwan, hands down, the favorite. My favorite place to visit, I think, I would say New Zealand. But I really liked Turkey a lot too.
So during all this time, was you a solo traveler, or were you with a partner at that time?
I was with a partner.
You were with a partner. And as a lady and working in those schools and working in those communities and absolutely living in those communities, did you ever feel threatened by anything? Did anything scare you? Was you ever threatened?
In Bahrain, the school I was working in, I felt threatened by the students. It was an international school. Most of the students were from Bahrain, but they were the majority of students were very disrespectful. In most schools that I've taught in, you have a handful of students that are disrespectful. In this school, it was the opposite. So a handful of students were respectful, and the rest were not, because that country at the time when I was there in 2013, 60% of the population were foreign workers. And so they went there to work for the Bahrainis, who could afford all kinds of maids, etc., etc. And so they looked at us as servants. And
You're a woman, that makes you low.
and also I'm a woman, and I'm a servant. So the school where I was at, I'm not going to tell you the name. It was you go to the principal, say my kid got a D. And the principal says, okay, here's an A. And I would walk down the hall, and the kids were running, and I would say, walk, it's safer. And I would have my hands like this, and they would just run and touch my arms, and I'd spin around. Or I'd be going down the stairs, going down the stairs, and 15 kids are coming up, and they're just pushing me almost off. I felt threatened.
You felt threatened in that country?
Not outside,
but in that
the
school.
but by the students.
And in the country itself, when you were not at school and you was with your partner and you were out doing whatever you do during the course of a day, how was that?
Fine.
Nothing.
In Bahrain, there is conflict between the Sunnis and the Shiites.
Okay.
And we could almost every night we could hear gunfire, but it didn't affect us. whatsoever.
Okay.
But we knew there was conflict.
No conflict.
One of my colleagues from an American colleague that I was working with got trapped one night because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was trapped by the gunfire, and he had to hide out for a couple of hours.
To get back.
But that didn't happen to us.
And then you moved into Asia. To what country? To Asia. And
But the first country I lived in was Thailand,
Thailand.
Bangkok, 2 years.
And what did you think of that?
I loved Thailand. It was great. The beaches, wow, beaches are beautiful.
Okay.
The water's beautiful.
People?
People are mostly friendly, quite good. The students go to international schools, so they can get go to a university overseas.
Mm-hmm.
So we are responsible for teaching them English and American or British or Canadian or another curriculum that's
Okay.
not from their own country.
Okay.
And to get into an international school, you have to have 2 passports. So it's usually the wealthy, different stages of wealth, right? Like you're middle class, you're upper middle class, you're really, really elite, and so on.
Okay.
But the students in all the school in Thailand and in Taiwan were very, very respectful, especially of teachers in general, but also of seniors, people with gray hair.
Really?
So I was very well looked after.
I know I live in Detroit, and we have had a large influx of the Asian community come into our city over the last 5 years. And the one thing I get from them, I go in their businesses, I eat some of their food, and I do a little computer work. They repair my computers. But they can't seem to be friendly enough and nice enough to you. Did you feel that way when you was in Thailand?
Absolutely, 100%. In Thailand and Taiwan, like one day in Taiwan, I was taking my garbage down. You know, I lived in a 14-story apartment block, and I was taking my garbage down in the elevator to the garbage disposal. This kid, about 6 or 7 years old, looks at me. He says, "Where are you going?" I says, "Taking my garbage out." "I'll do that." He takes my garbage out for me, only because I look like a grandma.
You look like a grandma. But I go back to what I just said. They are elderly that is with this Asian group that come to our city. And the elderly come to a senior citizen community. Somebody brings them, drops them off, picks them up, and everything. And I look at myself, I'm of course American through and through, and I come from a rural area of Appalachia, and there versus what they do like where I'm at is much different, more respect in the Appalachia where I'm from. It's kind of southeast, southern, whatever you refer to. But it was really nice to meet some of the Asian people, because their families take so good care of them.
Yes.
And I like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The culture
And
is fantastic.
when Thailand was over, where did we go?
Bahrain,
And then where did we go?
Taiwan,
And then where did we go?
Canada.
So over the years, how long did you stay in those
9 years. I was out of the country for 9 years.
9 years? And that time your family come visit you on occasion?
I had 3 of my siblings visit me in Thailand, and my son, and other in-laws, and a friend. I had a lot of visitors there. And in Bahrain, my son brought my mother, and then from Bahrain, my son and my mother and my ex went to Turkey.
Okay.
And then in Taiwan, a sister came, and a friend came.
And they never had any trouble? No trouble. I think you told me when you and I talked initially that you had been into Italy maybe, were planning to go to Italy or wanted to go to Italy or Greek. I'm not sure.
No, I got a case. No, I went to Poland, I went to Turkey, I went to India, Nepal, Vietnam, Laos, Vietnam about 4 or 5 times, Laos, Cambodia twice, Scotland, and England. And I had wanted to go to Greece again. I've been to Greece a long time ago, but I wanted to go again, but that just didn't work out.
I hate to ask you this question, but I'm going to, and if it embarrasses you, say no. Can I ask you your age?
You can ask
I'm
me.
looking at her going,
She's not gonna
gray
tell me,
hair, I
but,
don't see any
because
gray
what
I'm
I'd
over
like to-
70. I worked until I was 70. I retired 3 years ago. I
Okay.
just told you my age. I worked until I was 70, and then I retired.
Well,
Full time I worked.
well, you look good for 70, but that's not the point. The point is how much you have crammed into your life.
Oh yeah.
You have crammed so much.
Especially in the last number of, since 2011, a lot has happened in my
Traveled,
life. But before that, I traveled too.
Travel too.
So
And
you might want to tell them a little bit about parks. That was a pretty good story. And tell them a little bit about traveling out on the weekend to various places.
yeah, from the centers from wherever you were teaching or working, and maybe like in Vietnam.
Oh my goodness. Vietnam was really, really interesting. And in Asia, part of the reason why we decided to go overseas to work is because it was very convenient, easy, and cheap to visit other countries. So we knew we could do a lot of traveling, and I was the only person working.
Okay.
My partner was not working. So we knew we could, and when you're working overseas, your apartments are paid for.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Most of the time.
Okay.
Not in one of the countries, but most of the time it's paid for. And so your apartment's paid for, and all you have to pay for is, is like your phone, and they're very, very cheap in Asia. And
And
your
alcohol.
food and everything else.
Just
But
normal day-to-day
the
office
biggest
stuff.
part of your portion of a person's income
Is housing.
is not given to rent or
That's
mortgage.
well.
So we traveled a lot. So one day in Thailand, in Bangkok, we were looking for a particular park. And we had been given directions by somebody, a young man that I worked with, and he said, well, meet us there. They were doing bicycle around this island. He said, come and meet us. So we went, and we just couldn't find the place. We had to catch a boat to get to this island. We just couldn't find the place where it was. And finally, this woman saw us, and she had a huge Nazi tattoo on her shoulder.
Okay.
And anyway, so she said, well, I'll take you to the boat. And so she took us to the boat, and she says, I'm going to go with you because I know the man who lives on that island. He's the mayor, their equivalent of a mayor on that island, in that little town on that island. So she took us there, she paid for our fare, we met this mayor. This mayor came and brought us 2 bicycles that we could use to cycle around. So we cycled around, and we looked for my friend from work that I was looking for. I couldn't find him. And then the mayor, later on, we brought the bikes back. He took us back the other way. So that was very, very generous. Like they were going out of their way to help us and
Kind
to pay
of
for our
for
fare.
myself and yourself in Canada and the U.S., not something you normally run into. I mean, you don't get that kind of service many times. I know in the U.S., I live in Detroit, and they'll steal your bike maybe, but they won't give you a bike.
Yeah.
And, and
Yeah.
that, unfortunately, that's the way it is.
I had, both in Taiwan and Thailand,
Are you
many,
stuck?
many people helped us out in many, many occasions. They would go out of their way. One time I lost my phone. I was at a fish market with my son in Taiwan. I lost my phone. And
I don't offer
I
to
thought,
go.
well, maybe I left it in the bathroom. I went back to the bathroom and it was gone. Like 10 minutes later, it was gone. So I'm looking around for my phone, and I see these women off, maybe a couple of 100 yards away. And I had this, sign language, my phone is lost. And they pointed over there, and I didn't know what they were pointing to. So this young woman gets her keys, gets on her motorcycle, her scooter, tells me to get on, goes to the police station, and my phone is in the cop's hand at the police station. He has just phoned Canada from my phone.
Wow.
And it's like midnight in Canada. Anyway, he had just phoned Canada because he had found my phone, and he was trying to reach me, to find out how to reach me. And my son had said to me, Mom, you're never going to get your phone back. I said, Philip, this is Taiwan. My phone, I'm going to get my phone. Don't worry about it. And I did. They're fantastically honest in Taiwan, really.
Yeah.
Friendly as can be.
You and I have talked about Vietnam,
Yeah,
and that's what interests me.
it's fascinating.
Would you recommend for those of Americans today of any age, young, old, or old, whatever, to do that once in their life
Yes.
and just to enjoy the culture,
Yes.
and what they offer. Have you ever been in Thailand? Had you ever go to Pattaya? I think it's pronounced Pattaya, Thailand. P-A-T-A. I don't even know how to spell it. Pattaya.
Pattaya.
Pattaya, yeah.
Yes, I was in Pattaya.
You were there.
Yes.
You were there. Because I have a friend that lives there.
Oh.
He lives there full time.
Okay.
And I just wondered if you ever had made that.
Yes, a couple of times. It's quite close to Bangkok, like maybe 45 minutes away.
45 times.
I,
And you was in Laos?
I was in Laos.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was a very quick trip, like maybe 4 days there. So we didn't see a lot there.
Tell me about New Zealand. Tell me about New Zealand. Watch the smiles just roll. So tell me about New
New Zealand
Zealand.
is kind of like a miniature North America with a landscape.
Yeah.
You know, you've got fields, you've got mountains, you've got plains, and it's very small. I mean, it's 2 islands. I was only on 1 island,
Mm-hmm.
but it is like paradise. It's gorgeous. It's clean. It's friendly. You feel completely safe there. It's beautiful. And I have a friend who lives there, so
That helps.
So that
Yeah.
helped a lot to visit there.
Yeah.
And people kept telling me it was expensive. Well, it really was not maybe slightly more expensive than the States or Canada, but not really.
Not all that much.
It just was not like people in Asia are used to visiting Vietnam and Thailand and Taiwan, where things are not costly.
Yes.
But in New Zealand, you
Pay a
we
little
didn't
more
have
money.
to pay for a lot of hotels in New Zealand, so that saved a lot of money. But you know, if you're buying coffee, it's $5 a cup at a nice restaurant. So
Mm-hmm.
But you're not tipping, right?
no.
I mean,
No. But housing is frightfully expensive.
The reason I ask you about that, I've made a number of trips to Medellin, Colombia, and Cartagena, Colombia, particularly Medellin. And when you go down to Medellin, you meet a lot of people from Australia and New Zealand, and their reasoning for come there and live in as long as they can. I don't think they switch citizenships, never asked that much, was the fact of the cost. They could come to Colombia and live 6 months or whatever they live far cheaper than they could down there. And one lady that I know there particularly has apartments, buildings, and she rents a lot to those type of people. And she told me she charged just a little bit more to those people because she knew, she's smart, me business lady, that they have a little bit more money, And I said, well, good, then you can give me one of the cheap ones on the cheap deck or something. Well, that didn't happen either. But I have met quite a few people from Australia and particularly New Zealand in Colombia. Really have.
And I have a friend who's a teacher there. I never asked her what she made there, but she has 2 children who are adults, grown adults, and they can afford to buy a house.
Yes.
And the cheapest house, I'm guessing,
yeah.
400,000, 500,000, the cheapest for something not very big.
That's in New Zealand.
And that's a huge mortgage for a young couple.
Yes,
to
it
take on.
is,
So
yeah.
I think their salaries are pretty good.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them that I met, 3 that come to mind, 3 couples that come to mind, they were young couples kind of out of college like you, and what they do, they teach English.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure who they hook up with, but they hook up with some club or something there, and they teach English. And the biggest people they teach English to are people in the hospitality industry.
Oh, sure.
And when I just got back from Colombia myself, and I went into a drugstore to get some product, and when I walked in, I asked the guy straight up, I said, habla English? Well, yes, I do, of course, and he spoke better English than I did. And so after I got my supplies there, I asked him where he learned his English, and he had attended one of those schools there in Cartagena. So that's a big thing down there to teach English, it really is.
Well, actually in Taiwan now, they are hiring people. I don't know if they're actually teachers, but they're hiring a lot of people to teach English in the Taiwan schools. The school that I was in, international schools, English is the main language.
Yes.
And they learn their own language there, which in there was Mandarin, and they learn a little bit about their own history. But other than that, everything is
In English.
an American curriculum in English.
Well, that's kind of what the world operates on now, is English by and large, and that's the reason I
But now the Taiwanese are just taking people just to teach English in the Taiwanese school
Okay.
rather than
A
in.
friend's niece did that in China. She went over and taught English in a Chinese
Yeah.
school, even though She had no Chinese.
Even though they're not
It
teachers
was
even.
immersion English.
Yeah, I have some relatives who went over to work there just to teach English.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have an opportunity today to interview two interesting
Yes,
women.
I am.
No, I'm not interesting.
Yes,
I'm
you
talking
are.
about
Yes,
someone
you
else.
Ask her about aviation.
Tell me about aviation.
I'm an ultralight pilot,
And
and I miss it.
do you really?
I am stuck in Texas where I would be afraid to fly my ultralight because they'd shoot me out of the air.
That is probably true. Do you do that professionally or this is a
No.
hobby? This is a hobby.
I took 15 hours of general aviation just to feel comfortable before I did the ultralight training. And I have not honestly flown in 10 years.
Okay.
My husband wanted to live in an RV, so the airplane went bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, I must say this has been very interesting, and I'm not done with you.
I love
I'm
her
not done with you.
stories.
Men, you're going to talk a lot. I'm not going to record it all the
I
time.
have
But
to tell you that that is a real growth experience, and it's not for everybody.
no, it's not.
It's not for timid. I had a partner. I was really impressed by the number of single women or single men who went
I
there
might have to stay
on their
longer
own.
than
Yeah.
20.
From
Yeah,
the
but
States,
you
from
guys
Canada,
can go
from
to
all over Europe, from England, Australia,
We'll wait for you.
on your own, like without knowing anybody.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
bravery. I
yeah.
had a partner.
But one other
That's
question
tough.
I would ask you is, and I don't have a real problem with it, but they got so many devices today to help you with it. But when you were going there, how did you manage the language barrier when you were in countries that did not speak the language, or you did not speak the language?
You learn the basics. You learn money.
Yeah.
You learn hello, goodbye, thank you for sure,
Mhm.
and
Go from there.
go from there.
Yeah. See,
Silverware.
that's kind of what I do. I learn the basics. You know, what time's the cafe going to be served, and
Beer, how to say beer.
Yeah, cafe side.
In Propigio.
Yeah, so that's kind of the way I do it. I'm sure you had this dumb question before, but how many people told you you were nuts for what you did?
Not many told me I was nuts. They said I was brave, which I don't think I was.
Watch
Oh yeah, you were brave. You were
I
brave.
consider myself to be adventurous.
You know what?
Yeah, there's a little bravery involved in that.
I guess it does take some courage. Some
It sure
people,
does.
I can
Some
see
people
it
don't like
from
traveling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Some people want to
I'll
be
put it up
home with their families. They would miss their families, and that was difficult at times. Was to
Yeah.
be away from my family, but other than that, it's an
An
experience. Come on.
adventurer.
That's exactly the way I feel about it. People ask me, and at my age, I'm not quite young anymore. I'm 70. Well, I'll be 79 here in a couple of days. But want to know why at my age?
Why not?
What? That's my answer. Why not?
I thought I was going to be living in Central America or South America by now, but I'm not a self-motivator like her. I have friends that, okay, if they would have still been there, I'd have just showed up,
Yeah.
but I don't want to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
I know
She's
several of
already
those
figured out
countries.
how to be in Texas all year.
Yeah, she's
Because
got.
she's not from Texas.
Wow,
I
you
am
never could
a
give it.
Mexican at heart, so I can live here just fine.
Well, I don't know when I'll quit. I guess when they put the dirt in my face, but I have no plans of quitting. In fact, that's another story.
I was impressed to hear that you were doing Colombia because, okay, why would your friends pick Colombia over another country in the central area?
The reason my friends picked Colombia, in this particular case, one of the gentlemen I work with is how I got to know that. His wife was Colombian. He went down there for vacation, and he met a lady, and then he brought her to the U.S. and they both worked, and they retired, went back to Medellin. Yeah.
So I met a Colombian woman who worked with me in Taiwan. Oh my God, she was a sexy, fantastic woman, and she one night in Taiwan they sell beer in the convenience store, 7-Eleven, Max, whatever, and so one night a bunch of us go out there and we bring our boombox. We're sitting outside drinking beer, and they often have bands outside the convenience
Sure
stores.
do,
And it's
yes.
free.
Goodness.
Yeah,
Yes.
so anyway, we're sitting out there playing the boombox, and she teaches me how to do this Colombian dance. I've got a video of it, it's really fun. But the cops came along and told us to be
You had to
quiet.
go?
We were just hoping the school didn't hear about it.
That's cute.
So Sylvia, turn the tables on him and ask him why he's here and what he sees about this area.
So do you feel safe in Texas?
It's just the United States, and it's a warmer place than I live. It's just another place to me. I just got back
So
from the
are you
North Pole.
still in the Appalachian area? or
No,
are
I live
you
in
farther-
Detroit. I live in
Well,
Detroit.
I heard you say Detroit. I'm from Michigan, really.
Yeah, I'm from Detroit. I live in Detroit, but I started out down in the mountains. My family are there, but yeah.
I hear that more than Detroit.
And do you still go there home in the spring or summer?
I go home in the spring. Yeah.
You're not a full-time Texan.
No, I ain't full time nothing. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I made a.
Full-time inquiring minds.
Well, thank you, but no, I'm not done. I'm going to end this video, guys. This lady's got 1,000,000 stories, and I love them all. And I will do another one with her. And until we see you in the next video, this is JJ. So long from Texas. 80 degrees for those of you who are up north. Bye bye now.